So what's up, everybody? This is Dejan, owner of Tinae's Wealth Management and Credit Consulting, and today's video is about hiring your kids under your LLC, partnership, corporation, and more, as well as the $12,000 tax benefit that's provided for hiring your kids. Now, before we dive into that topic, I'd like to ask if you guys can really check out and support the movement. This is Budgeting and Money Management for Kids, which is a children's book series that I developed to give children education on finances and investments. Also, I do have the Finance Alphabet that's available on Amazon. It was recently published, so check that out as well. And lastly, I do have my other three books: The Principles of Stock Market Investing, The Essentials of Good Credit, and Life Finances and Opportunity. Each of these are available on Amazon, and I'll drop those in the description box below. Now, how to hire your kids for your business, the $12,000 tax benefit that's provided. I really want to elaborate the key terms of this because there's a lot of posts on social media saying that, you can hire your kids under your LLC and that there's a benefit. And I really wanted to give people an idea of how to really look at this because, there's a lot of questions that people ask. And just looking at a lot of these viral posts on Facebook and other social media, it's just not explained the best for people to understand. And they put it to where they make it seem as if everyone can do it. So let me really dive into, a lot of reasons how this can work. So if your child is under 18, then you do have the option to at least get up to $12,000 in untaxed money in terms of, basically what they receive on their paycheck. So in terms of FICA, they won't be paying any FICA. So there's no withholding for any particular reason for children that are 18 and under, that are under 18. Also, the child, like I said before, does get up to $12,000 until they have to start paying the taxes per the Tax Cuts and Job Act. So the Tax Cuts and Job Act basically says a child can get up to, a specified number of dollars up until a certain point, and that's when the taxation will begin. So basically what I'm saying is the child has to be an employee of a business and get paid on payroll in order to go through with this. Now, when I say the child has to be a real employee, I want to break down the stipulations of being a real employee. Now, let's say your parent has a business at home where they're pretty much doing daycare services. Well, if you're doing normal things like, let's just say, cleaning around the house or, cooking and things like that, that's not necessarily something that you can hire a child to do, or your children, because you have to think about it. They also say in the act that it can't be something that's specifically done in your household, like paying your child to take out the trash or to do the dishes because you have a work from home business. That doesn't qualify your child to get that $12,000 tax benefit because that's not basically being a real employee. Now, let me give you an example of something that's realistic that a lot of us have seen. And I don't want to bring race into it just for anyone that could possibly feel offended, but I think this is really a great example. So most of us have been to Chinese restaurants. You'll see kids that are young working the register, picking up the phone, even cooking the food. Now, these establishments are typically not inside of the person's household, of course, but this is a great example of how kids can maximize this benefit because think about it. When I go inside Quick Chinese in Jacksonville, Florida, I've seen the same guy at the restaurant for years now, 3 years now. So he picks up the phone, he cooks the order, he gives the food, swipes the debit card transaction. That qualifies a person to be able to use that tax benefit because they're actually rendering a service and actually providing that to the consumer. So it's not like, oh, well, we're doing work from home, so I need you to sweep and wash the dishes and I'm going to compensate you for it. It does not work like that. And so many people have this idea that it's just that easy. It's not. The business has to be within compliance. Another thing I want to talk about, the child has to be on payroll. So you just can't pay your child through Cash App or Apple Pay or other third-party apps that send money because it has to be a record or something on file that's traced so that you can keep up with the IRS, so that you can file this information with the state when tax season comes. So you need a payroll system. Get rid of Cash App, get rid of Apple Pay, get into using programs like Square, Gusto, or PayPal that give people the opportunity to not only get paid for the work that they've done, but to also be in compliance with the state as well as any other law that they'll have to follow. So, this takes me into my next idea. Make sure the pay is reasonable. And let me break down this. So, let's just say the benefit is up to $12,000. We're aware of that number. But let's say your business made $25,000 or $30,000 the previous year. You can't just up and say, oh, well, since I made $30,000 this year, I'm going to tax my child $12,000. See, what the IRS does, with how taxes work and everything, it's not going to work like that. So if you make 25 or 30,000, you can't just pay your kid 12,000. It has to be a reasonable wage within compliance with the law as well. So if you have a child that's doing something, something like $8, $9, $10, $11 an hour, it's something that's reasonable versus making $25,000 for the year and paying your kid $12,000. The IRS will flag that and report that. So make sure that's not what you're doing, because I know a number of people that have thought of that, and that's just not how it works. It still has to be a reasonable wage to be considered. Also, it keeps you in compliance with employment laws, with your EIN, your W-4, your I-9. All of this is needed when you go out and get on these payroll systems. So make sure you're getting your EIN, filling out W-4s for your child, I-9s, and all of this other information to keep them compliant. Don't just give them money and not trace it or track it or everything like that, because there's a lot of people out here winging business, and winging business is not a wise idea. So I really wanted to talk about that. And kind of like I said before, you have to separate your family and your work jobs. And it's like I said earlier, you can't pay a child to clean and then deduct that on your taxes. That's not. Now look, you can pay a child to clean the house as a job, which is fair. You can say, hey, Bill, Bobby, I want to hire you $10 an hour to just sweep around while I do my business from home. That's technically fine. However, you can't consider that a business deduction because that is still relative to the household. So yes, you can still do it. They can still get paid to clean, do whatever. Nobody's telling you can't do it. The only thing we're saying is that you can't benefit from that tax benefit. So if your child, lives at the house with you and you're paying them to clean up, you can't just deduct that, because that's something they would have already had to do anyway because they live at that home. So make sure you read the terminology to the things that's going on, because so many people will start t-shirt businesses, lash businesses, and they think that their children qualifies. Now, you could find some ways to get them to qualify so that you could do it, but for most people, it's just not going to happen like that. And I just have to say it, because if I don't say it now, a lot of business owners will just think it's something that they can do. Don't just go out and get an LLC, a C Corp, S Corp, and not truly understand what you're really doing, because so many people just have this idea that, they can stack up all this money and avoid taxes by having children that work, but it still has to be within compliance. So I really wanted to leave people with those thoughts. So again, make sure you get a payroll system established so that you can have your kids on file legally. Make sure they have EINs for your business. Make sure you get your W-4s, your I-9s, and other tax information completed for them. Make sure their pay is reasonable, and make sure you pay them for doing the actual service rather than making it appear as if they're just doing anything and just getting a check for it, because the IRS will flag you. So be safe out there, people. If you have questions, definitely comment here. I'll comment back to as much people as I can. Reach out to me. You can schedule a one-on-one consultation, and keep in mind, you have to schedule the consultation first before booking and making your phone call. So 904-708-8082. If you're having any trouble booking online, definitely reach out to me. We have other payment options that's available. So if you're having trouble, feel free to reach out. But other than that, I appreciate everyone that has taken the time to watch my video. Please hit that subscribe button, like it, and I will be dropping more content throughout the weeks. So just stay on the lookout, and I appreciate you all for watching. Have a good one.